Hey everyone, tomorrow DC Extras here, and today I'm going to give you guys my review of The Flash Season 8, Episode 9, titled Phantoms. Now, I have to say, this episode was actually a really good episode, don't get me wrong, it was a good episode. Season 8 has been good so far. It's just that this episode was a step backwards from last week's episode. Last week's episode was straight up 10 out of 10. Loved last week's episode. But this episode was more of a okay episode or a decent episode. Let's start with the problems. Like me, like in other channels like DJ Air, are so tired of the leveling up or level up dialogue now. Every time now every day we have to hear it once. If I was running the show, I would have just made them say level up once in a while. Like maybe once this week, the next week never, then maybe after that, like that. I just don't want to hear level it up again. It's starting to get more and more annoying. It's like, oh, Barry's leveling up. Okay, what's the point of that? That doesn't do anything other than tell you Barry's getting more powerful. Another thing I'm tired of, the Chester Allegra scenes. They're starting to take up more and more time, more space as this season's been going. And I feel like that's the one thing they're focusing on this season. Now, I'm not saying they're bad characters. It's just that this relationship is like what most people are saying. It just feels extremely forced, and I kind of agree with that. Because of that, they had to kind of double down on that. What I mean by that is like tone that thing down. Because this Black Flame storyline is more intriguing to me than all of that stuff. And this reporter storyline doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Now, that said, this episode is not like a season 2 or a season 7 episode. Those episodes would definitely be a lot more okay to bad. This episode was actually decent, so I'd say around maybe, what am I looking at? Maybe season 1 decent episode quality. But so here's the positives for this episode. The Black Flame stuff, I'm starting to get more and more intrigued. Because now they're saying is essentially like, if you suffer grief and sorrow, the Black Flame is essentially gonna haunt you. And you know what that is? Like, if there's like a really tragic moment, and you're still feeling grief over it, Black Flame's coming, and you know what that is? Ghost Rider. So I feel like they're starting to pull more, and it makes it more obvious that it's Ghost Rider at this point, because Ghost Rider's a fire meta. Well, he may not be meta, but he's definitely a fire-based character. His Penance Stare allows for the sins that you inflicted on others, and you're gonna suffer that. Similar thing. And 3, probably the most obvious is that it is a person. I know some people have been saying it's Ronnie Raymond. I don't believe it's Ronnie Raymond. It doesn't make that much sense that it's Ronnie Raymond. If I was being honest, it doesn't add up, in my opinion. Ronnie just consistently comes up, and you have to remember, how would this make sense? Some people are saying time travel or crisis, but I feel like some people are starting to feel like those theories are not going to work. They don't make sense. And the thing with Ronnie, he really wouldn't be a bad guy if he came back. he wouldn't even be personal if I was being honest, because in season one, who was Barry's most personal foe? This is in season one, aside from Reverse Flash. It's Gerda. Gerda was probably Barry's most personal foe aside from Reverse Flash. So that's what they're kind of pulling at, just as the main villain, where the main villain is either a childhood friend of Barry Allen, who is now evil. That's the way I see them doing it. Now, in my opinion, I'm not trying to be mean to people say that it's Firestorm. I mean, I actually can kind of see Firestorm. It's just that more likely you also have to base on the other stuff, and eventually, surely you also have to realize that Firestorm may actually not work that well. And that's how I see it. I just can't see Firestorm working. If you think he's the main villain, that's cool. That's good. That's nice. I just don't see it as Firestorm, in my opinion. So what am I gonna give this episode? I'm gonna probably give it like an E or a B. It's a good episode. It's a good episode. I would rather watch this than say Guerrilla Warfare of season 2 or Family Matters from season 7. But to me, this episode had a lot of flaws. I'd say it's around like episode 7 quality, where it's a decent episode. I can see myself watching this episode again, but it's just decent. It's not great. It's definitely not amazing. It's not terrible. It's not okay. It's just good. So that's all I have for today. Happy April Fool's Day. I know I didn't make a video on that. Sorry, my apologies. I was thinking of doing one, but I realized maybe I may not even have the time. Yeah, but I hope you all have a great April Fool's Day, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.